morning or good afternoon or whatever it is, wherever you are watching me from. Today we have the Woodland's Big Pilot, or the Pilot's Woodland's, the Top Gun edition. It looks pretty amazing. We've got so much to catch up about. You might notice that we actually have the Lake Tahoe edition as well here, but I felt like they both deserved separate reviews because they're both so unique. But before we get into the detail, before we get into the nitty gritty, my name is Harrison and welcome back to the Chisholm Hunter channel. This is a time in the wrist episode where we'll get this on the wrist. Without further ado, let's get into the specs. So this watch comes in at 44.5 millimeters in diameter and 15.7 millimeters in thickness. It is a big, thick, sturdy watch, but it is a chronograph and IWC tend to make bigger watches. For example, if you look at the classic Big Pilot, that is a chunky piece. The lug to lug of this piece, according to my digital calipers, comes in at 53. It might be slightly under just based on this measurement. So the measurements on this watch are very, very chunky, guys. They're probably a little bit too big for me. I'm not gonna lie, I have 6.5-inch wrists, so they are a little bit on the slimmer side. But because it has a dark khaki green dial and case, it wears that little bit smaller. It's still chunky, but it wears a little bit smaller. The case on this model is made from full ceramics, and it is a dark khaki green, as I mentioned before, but it also features Serotonin on the pushers, as you can see here, and also on the back. What Serotonin is a combination of titanium and ceramic. This is unique to IWC and it's an incredible material. Let me talk about it. So Serotonin is this incredible material that's unique to IWC, and it's when they combined, as I mentioned before, ceramic and titanium. They bring the scratch resistance, ruggedness and toughness of the ceramic, but the lightweightness of the titanium. So what you get is a really durable, light material. And when you have a chronograph that's this size and this chunky, you need to save weight wherever possible. Plus, it's a precious metal. I really like it. Being a watch nerd, I have to say, I would love to see this full thing in Serotonin. I love that metal. I love the fact it's unique to IWC, and it kind of fits my lifestyle as a photographer, videographer going up hills. I need that resistance, but I'm not Lewis Hamilton, and he actually owns the full Serotonin version of the Big Pilots. But I just think it'd be cool. Anyways, I've digressed massively. Let's get onto the strap of this model. So let's actually, the best way to test the strap out, in my opinion, is actually just get it on the wrist. Because I wear a rubber strap at the moment, so I kind of have a good gauge of what's a good and bad rubber strap. The first thing I notice about this strap is it's a combination of NATO and rubber. It has rubber on the underbelly and a little bit on the side. I like the fact that they've done this. It's very much military inspired. If you take the khaki field military watch, it's one of my everyday wearers, they all have NATO straps because that's what the military feel is. But they've used the comfortability of rubber and combined it with that NATO, which is pretty good to me. These watches are actually built to pay homage to the US Fighter Navy School, which has the most elite pilots in the world, and they've been supporting, IWC have been supporting this school since 2007. So these watches are built for combat. A good example of these watches actually being built for the pilots at this school is that the glass is actually built against displacement by pressure. So when these pilots are experiencing G-force, the glass won't pop out. As well as that, this has anti-reflective coating on both sides of the sapphire crystal glass on the dial. But IWC have added a little sprinkle of salt to this watch, as they always do. And the reflection is beautiful. It is that iconic blue IWC reflection that I've talked about in other reviews. I don't know how they do this. I don't know where it comes from, but it is unique to IWC and it's stunning. This watch also has a screw down crown right here, which allows it to have a water resistance of 60 meters, which is pretty good for a pilot's watch. But a little detail that I really, really like is the crown. It's not overly intrusive. I've said this in other reviews before. Sometimes they can be too much and they can dig into your wrists. This doesn't do that, and it's nice to turn. It's not jaggy. It doesn't jag into your fingers. It's quite subtle. Only 1,000 of these are made annually, both the Lake Tahoe and also the Woodlands. But the good thing about this is that Chisholm Hunter actually have them in stock. So if you want to shop this model, then make sure you click the link below. So now we have our flashlight and we're shining our flashlight on the dial because I want you to take a look at the Lume with me. I already had a peek and it's mad. As you can see, there is Lume at the 12 o'clock mark, and then the 3 o'clock mark, 6, and the 9, and also the hands. This Lume is extremely, extremely bright. And remember that this is just a sample, so it will be brighter. Right, let's crack on with this dial, but not before we appreciate that Lume, because that was crazy. I think one of the points that makes that Lume even better is the hands, the minute and the hour marker are actually black. Now, I'm not sure if this is Serotonin. I tried to look it up online, but I couldn't find out the stats. I don't know what it is, but it just makes it so much more prominent and so much more readable. And another thing about this Lume is, let's think of it from a pilot's standpoint. When they're doing their nighttime missions, when they're flying extremely, extremely fast, they need to look at this watch and at a glance know what the time was. And that's why, partially, it's so bright. It's genuinely one of the most incredible Lumes that I've seen on a watch. I've said this quite recently on another watch, which is still embargoed, and click the bell if you want to see that, but I think this beats it. So this is obviously a chronometer. Now let me go over all the features on this watch, but as a summary, sometimes chronometers can be very difficult to read. IWC have maintained their great readability while also allowing all these features that a chronometer offers. I'm a fan. This chronograph has a day and date display at the 3 o'clock mark, and it has the IWC logo above it quite comfortably positioned. This chronograph has hours, minutes, and second trackers, and a small hacking seconds. It has a soft iron inner case for protection against magnetic fields, and obviously a screw down crown. And finally, we get onto the movement, which to me is the best bit because I'm a watch nerd. But before we do, we have an exciting announcement. We have just hit 6,000 subscribers at the time of us recording this video, which is incredible. We are truly building a kind, courteous watch community. And I love reading all your comments, so thank you, truly. If I haven't replied to you, I will try and get back to you. But this is what we've been trying to build, and I do feel it's happening, and we're building a brilliant watch community. So if you could hit that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. The beautiful movement is behind the closed caseback, as you can see here. Now, the closed caseback has the Top Gun logo and is also made from Serotonin, which is an incredible material. We've already covered it. I do prefer open casebacks, I have to say it, but I do understand why they've used a closed caseback. It's because when you have that intense cabin pressure when you're flying, you need as little glass as possible. So it's justified. The movement is the IWC caliber 69380. It beats at a frequency of 28,800 VPH. It has 33 joules and 46 hours of power. It's also fully automatic and it's beautiful. We have covered the movement, we've covered the specs, we've covered the beautiful dial. But what we haven't covered is how I feel about this watch personally. I've said this from the very beginning of this channel. I will always be honest with you. If something's not for me, I will tell you that it's not for me. This is for me, but it's slightly too big. But what you need to remember is just because it's too big for me doesn't mean it's too big for you. I have 6.5-inch wrists, and that's why it's just that little bit too bulky. But then you think of military personnel that are in the Navy, they're probably a little bit bigger than me, they'll be muscly, they'll be in the gym. And also then you think of the stylized approach and the fact that this is a tool watch with a modern twist. It is beautiful. I love the direction IWC are going in. They're innovating beyond quite a few of the other brands. I'm a huge fan of this watch. I truly, truly am. And I think it's brilliant for the military. So between this model, the Lake Tahoe that's sitting beside me, and the first edition, which was the Desert, the Mojave Desert version that they brought out, I think it really modernizes the IWC look, and I'm a huge fan. And I'm actually really looking forward to what they have to bring out next. It's got me engaged, it's got me excited. Well done, IWC. By the way, let me know if you want us to collaborate with any other YouTubers in the watch space. We're actually friends with quite a few of them, and it'd be great to get them on and talk some watches. So let us know in the comments which one you would want us to collaborate with. But anyways, that's all from me today. So make sure you hit this subscribe button to join the Chisholm Hunter watch community. And that's all. We'll see you soon.